So to just have an AI picture up there to me is actually rather insulting. Hi, it's Sonia here, The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So I have been doing a series called Yarn Matters where we were going over some basics of either knitting or crocheting, and I did 10 episodes of that, and I'm not sure, I don't think I'm going to continue it. I can't really think of, I guess I could do some more things, but I thought I would do something different where basically I'm just going to sit here and crochet something. I've actually never done that before. Like, you see me crochet, you just see my hands only, but I'm actually just going to sit here. I'm going to crochet. I'm actually going to be working on designing an 18-inch dowel hat, so you're going to kind of see how I do that process and just talk about like just catching up, you know, what I've been doing, what I'm going to be doing with this channel, things like that. It's a really horrible day outside. It is pouring, and now it's windy like crazy outside. It's like roaring outside my window. So if you hear that, that's what it is. And my dog is really unhappy because he hates the rain, but you know, we can't do anything about it. You know, it's April. April showers bring May flowers, so we're definitely getting those showers for sure. But yeah, I am going to be using, to start this, I have my eye hook or 5.5 millimeter hook. And I think this is just worsted weight number 4 yarn. It's some scrap in my stash. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what brand it is, but you know, this is what we're going to use. A lot of times when I do 18-inch dowel projects, I use finer yarn and smaller hooks. So I thought I would use a little bit of a heavier yarn for an 18-inch dowel. And here's my model right here. She's actually wearing this Snow White outfit that I made. It's on the channel. I think I made it last year, and the written pattern will be coming out this week. Finally, it's been taking me a while to get that done. Just a lot of things going on, and so if any of my testers are watching, I'm really sorry it's taken me so long to edit that pattern and correct it and all that stuff, but I just finished it, so I'm hoping today is Wednesday, April 3rd, and hopefully today, Wednesday, April 3rd, that written pattern will be out on Ravelry. It will be live in the wild. So again, thank you to my testers for helping me out. But yeah, now we're going to make a hat. I'm thinking like a bucket style hat is my vision, I guess. So if you're wondering how the design process usually works for me, usually I come up with an idea, maybe I'll get some inspiration on Instagram, or I have a lot of old patterns. I love to collect patterns. I just bought a couple older patterns last week, 25 cents. I was like, you know, I had some time to kill to pick up my daughter from work, so there was a thrift store near where she works, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go in there, and then I saw these really neat old patterns, and so vintage patterns. I guess some of them are either they're from the 60s or the early 70s is my guess. They didn't have dates on them, which I love to look just through old books or anything like that for dates. So I was looking, but just from the pictures and like the styling, I'm getting a 70s vibe. So yeah, I love to look through them and get some inspiration from that. So that's a lot of times where I come up with my ideas. But this hat that I'm going to be making is going to be made top down. A lot of times I make hats bottom up. It's usually my preferred method. But because I want to do like a bucket type style hat, I think top down is going to work better. But yeah, I usually just get the idea. I start working on some swatches and go from there. I used to have pencil and paper. I still do that occasionally, but not so much. And I would just literally write out the pattern as I was going. But now I have a computer, so I actually have my computer, if you can hear that, I have it next to me, and I have a Word document open to put some notes on there, because sometimes like I can look back at my work and see what I did, but it doesn't always work out that way. If the stitches are really tight, which that can be a problem for me, or if it's more of an intricate stitch and I'm just like, I don't remember what I did. So I just like to have my computer with me to put any notes down. And sometimes when I do this, it becomes a failed item. It doesn't always work. But hopefully this one will, because I want to have this pattern out this week. And I'm also working on another, it's a prototype. So this is a prototype I'm trying to get into working on designing more clothing items like sweaters. So I am currently working on a sweater, and I actually got the idea from an AI picture. Let's talk about AI, okay? So this is going to be a chatty video. So I do belong to a couple of Facebook groups, like crochet groups, and even just on my regular Facebook, like people know that I like to crochet or knit, and so people will tag me on these pictures, and they're really neat, but they're AI. And some people straight up believe that it's the actual thing, and it's kind of frustrating. And I've even seen on Instagram like yarn pages and things like that, like Red Heart Yarn or Hobby or whatever. I don't know if Hobby's done it, but I'm pretty sure Red Heart has done it. Where they will be posting AI pictures, and it's kind of frustrating because, I mean, I know that they're kind of neat, but I would much rather a yarn company post pictures of real people's finished projects. Like, I just feel like, you know, when you crochet or knit something, it takes a lot of time, and so to just have an AI picture up there, to me, is actually rather insulting. Sorry, I had to count. I'm sure we all can relate. You're working on something and you're counting, and if you have a child or a spouse or a friend and they're like, hey, and it's like, no, I'm counting. So, but yeah, I was, a little disheartened to see that. I mean, yeah, they are neat, but also, people will think that it's an actual real crocheted or knit item, where somebody I know just posted this it was a cool picture. It really was. I mean, whoever did the AI, hats off to them. It was neat. And people in the comments actually thought somebody made this blanket. And I could tell, I kind of have gotten an eye for it now to see if it's AI or not. And this one was totally AI. And people were like, oh, what amazing work, what amazing talent. And I'm like, no human being made that. That is completely fake. So, if anybody has come across that themselves, and, what are your thoughts on that in the comments? I mean, I think, it can be fun. Like, the sweater that I'm making is definitely inspired from AI. And someone posted on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, that's a cute design. Let me see if I can do something similar or put my own spin on it. And but people thought, they were real models and, real people. I could tell the models, it was 3 AI models, and, they looked absolutely like perfect people. And I was like, yeah, that's an AI image. And the sweaters, and like, I guess one was a sweater, and then I think the other 2 were complete outfits, like skirts and tops, and maybe even one had a hat on or something, but it was, I'm like, yeah. And all the models looked exactly the same. Like, they were walking, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think there's triplets out there that look like that. So yeah, the one design was cool, and I thought, I think I could actually, come up with something similar. So it's in process. I was hoping to maybe have it done this week, but we had the holiday, we had Easter. So if any of you celebrated Easter, happy belated Easter. I hope that you had a really nice holiday. It was very busy for me. I joined my church choir. We just have a choir for Easter time. It's not an all year thing, which I'm kind of glad, because, sorry if I'm wondering, my computer likes to turn itself off, so I'm like touching it like, no, don't turn off. You need to be on. So I had to sing for 2 services, and then immediately when I got home, we quickly did family pictures and then went to my mom's house for Easter, which was really nice. I'm glad the weather held up because I have a lot of really young nieces and nephews, so it was nice for them to have their egg hunt. And the older kids still, my youngest she's 17, and she still did an egg hunt. And her other cousins that are around the same age were like, they were like, I don't want to do an egg hunt. But when they found out that my daughter was still going to do it because she loves her candy, they're like, okay, well, if she's going to do it, then I'll do it too. So it was fun for them. You know, I think it might be one of her last egg hunts because she'll be 18 next year. And I think the rule that my mom has is, you know, once you hit 18, you know, you're an adult and you kind of age out of the egg hunts. I mean, she still gets things for the older grandkids, but, you know, it is a lot to plan an egg hunt. So I could see why you know, she has to limit it, you know, draw the line somewhere. But yeah, it was a really nice holiday. It's always a little bittersweet because my husband died it's been 3 years. And so this was our 4th Easter without him. So you're probably thinking, okay, he died 3 years ago. How can it be your 4th Easter? Well, he passed in March of 2021. And he passed it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Easter. So Easter of 2021 was our first Easter without him, which I barely remember it. It was because, you know, he wasn't expected to die. So everything was just so crazy at that time. And, you know, I really didn't know what was going on. So, you know, I don't remember a whole lot about that Easter. I mean, it was fine. My family really tried to make it nice for myself and my kids. But, you know, we were still in shock over, you know, everything that had just happened to us. But we love the holidays, and so, you know, we try to, you know, have it be a happy time, you know, as we call it. Sometimes, you know, we get happy and sad at the same time, so it's happy, sad days. But for the most part, this one was a really happy day. We have a new family member where my daughter, she got married. My oldest one got married in January, so her new husband got to spend Easter with us, which was really fun. And he's not used to the craziness of my family because there's a lot of us. I mean, there's, let me think, 15 grandchildren. And then the adults, there's 8 adults. And now that I have my new son-in-law, there's 9 adults. So it's a lot of people. Just to have, you know, because people are like, oh, I'm just having something simple. And simple for us is still all about 20-some people. It's crazy. So, and then one of my nieces, she was up from college, and so she brought her boyfriend. So we had even more people. And, you know, at this point, my mom, she's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, what's another person? We have so many as it is. You know, and it's not as many as we used to because my husband died, and then my father, he passed away a year and a half. You know, it is always kind of bittersweet, you know, because we are missing 2 people now. But we have gained some people with my new son-in-law and, you know, my niece's boyfriend. I don't know if he's going to be a permanent fixture in the family, but he's a really nice guy. We really like him. Sorry about that. I wanted to pause because I had to count, and I needed a stitch marker, I realized, because I am working in continuous rounds. A lot of my design, I like things to look as seamless as they can, you know, especially when working in the round. You can't always, so I'm doing continuous rounds, which means I'm just working around and around and around. But sometimes it's hard to keep track of your last stitch and your first stitch, so I've realized, hey, I should get a stitch marker. So I always just like to use scraps of yarn, so I found a piece of red scrap yarn that I'm using as my stitch marker to continue. And I wanted to put some notes on my computer so that I can remember what I did later. So when I make a video of this, I will have an idea of what I'm doing. But I'm trying to make this pretty easy. I know sometimes, not that I'm not like a super intricate designer as far as my designs go, but they're not straight up beginner designs either. So especially with some of the 18-inch doll patterns, like I said, I tend to use a smaller hook or thinner yarn. So this one I wanted it to be more of a very beginner friendly project. So I'm using I'm in the US, so we use worsted weight yarn is like our go-to yarn. But I mean, I think you could use a DK weight yarn with this project if the DK weight yarn is like a heavier DK weight yarn, because just because something's labeled DK weight or worsted weight, you know, they're not always created equal. Some are thinner, some are thicker. Like a prime example for me is Karen Simply Soft yarn. It is labeled a number 4 or worsted weight yarn, but to me it's definitely lighter weight than, let's say, a Red Heart Super Saver worsted weight or a Hobby Lobby worsted weight. And then there's like Knit Picks, some of their worsted weight yarns to me are finer. They're definitely not, at, like I said, heavier than like a Red Heart or a Hobby Lobby. So you know, or there's like the Karen yarn, the Karen 1 pound worsted weight yarn. They're very similar to like Red Heart Super Saver or Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn, worsted weight, but you know, pairing it with the Knit Picks worsted weight yarns, Knit Picks is definitely a little bit finer. So that's just something to keep in mind. Or if your doll has a slightly smaller head, like I'm using, here she is. She's an 18-inch, or yeah, she's an 18-inch doll. She's an American Girl doll, and so the body types for some of the 18-inch dolls can vary, I noticed. And this one here, this is Josefina. She's a much older 18-inch doll. Like she's definitely from the late 90s. So like the newer 18-inch dolls, the American Girl dolls, their body types are a little bit slimmer. So, and I'm sure the head shapes can vary a little bit as well. So sometimes you might need to just change the pattern up a little bit for fit. So you might need to use a smaller hook, a slightly thinner yarn, or a larger hook, thicker yarn, you know, just to help with the fit. Or you can also, a lot of times with my patterns, especially the 18-inch doll patterns, I try to make it where, you know, maybe you don't need to work as many rounds or rows so that, you know, it will fit your doll. I try to make them customizable. I like patterns like that where I like choices in life. That's kind of how I am. I like a lot of clothing choices or yarn choices. So I like to do that with my patterns, that people aren't boxed in with, you know, you have to use this yarn and you have to make this amount of stitches for it to work. I do like a little wiggle room sometimes with my patterns. It doesn't always work out that way. You know, sometimes, you know, you have to make it the way the directions say or it's not going to work. But with the 18-inch doll patterns, I do try to make them where it will fit a variety of dolls and you can use, you know, a variety of yarns, because not everybody has access to the same types of yarns. You know, I have people, you know, using patterns throughout all over the world, and so depending where you live, you know, it might not be as easy for you to get, you know, worsted weight yarn. I have heard that from some of my international buyers, where especially I think in Europe, worsted weight or number 4 yarn is just not as readily available, but their go-to yarn is DK weight yarn. So that's why I try to have that option in there where you can kind of interchange yarns sometimes. And also to help fit with different budgets, because, you know, I'm on a budget, you know, I'm a widow, I, you know, have a limited income. You know, I'm doing fine, but, you know, I'm not loaded. YouTube is not doing it for me. I mean, I wish it was. I'm trying to upload more and be more present on YouTube to maybe, you know, that it would be a little bit lucrative for me, but it's definitely not. It's definitely more like a fun thing, hobby thing, and I do really like it. I love sharing what I do, but it would be nice if it would be a little profitable, just a little bit, just a tiny bit, but it's not at all. Most of my videos get very little views, which, you know, I'm trying to put them out there. I'm not quite sure how to do that. You know, I'm trying to post more on Instagram. I'm just, you know, I'm 51, so I'm not in that age group where I post my entire life on social media. You know, I'm just not that kind of person. I don't always have time for that because I am a mom and I have a house and a dog and everything to take care of. So, and I don't have the best of equipment. I was looking at my camera. I'm probably going to need a new camera soon. My computer's starting to die. I need a new phone. But you know, I'm just trying to make do with what I got right now, which is fine. I'm not trying to complain at all. It's just, you know, it is what it is. That's, you know, that's how it is. But I am really fortunate. I do have a couple loyal viewers, and if you're watching, thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, I think we do have a nice little community, a really tiny community, and you know, I'm really fortunate. People are really encouraging and really nice. So I do really appreciate that. You know, I wish we could grow a little bit, but you know, that's, you know, it's okay. I'm just, you know, gonna keep on trucking, as they say. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if this is wide enough, because what I'll do is, so you can see that I have increased here, and then once this is increased enough, then I will stop, and then I'll just start working around, and then it will, you know, start to make the hat shape, because right now it can kind of lay flat, but once you've reached enough, like it's wide enough, then you can just keep working in the round and it will start to turn into a hat shape. And then I have to remember how to turn it into a bucket shape, which I think I remember how. I haven't made a bucket hat in a really long time. I think I made one when my oldest daughter was a baby, so she's 22 now. So that was a really long time ago. I'm not a hat person per se. I think I look so dumb in hats. I make a lot of hats because I think hats are fun to make, but I don't like wearing hats. But I am in charge of a knit crochet group at my church, and we do a lot of projects for charity, and in the wintertime we do make hats for the community, or winter items in general, just hats, mittens, gloves, scarves, that kind of thing. But hats are fun to make. They, you know, don't require a lot of yarn. You can use up scrap yarn with them. You can get really colorful with them, or really simple. You know, you can do a lot with when you're making hats. So I do make a lot of hats, just don't wear them because I just don't think I have like a cute head for hats. I don't know. I've never liked them. Even when I was really young, I just would refuse to wear a hat. My mom would be like, "It's freezing, you have to wear a hat," and I'd be like, "No, I look ugly, I look stupid." So I do prefer things with hoods. I did make a balaclava. It's like a hooded thing. I do have a pattern for it. I actually really love it because I don't like having a cold neck, so it covers the neck. So you know, you're wearing the coat, you're shoveling the snow, and your neck is covered. It's great. And also, most times I wear glasses. I don't like wearing my glasses when I'm filming because the lights reflect off the glasses, and I find when I've seen other YouTubers that their ring light, I can literally see their ring light through their glasses, and I'm like always, I'm trying not to focus on that, but I do. And so I don't wear my glasses because I don't want to see the ring light reflection in my glasses. I know it's a silly thing, but, and also I'm very nearsighted, so when I'm crocheting, I don't like to wear my glasses because I do have the bifocal thing because I'm 51, so yay, bifocals. Woo. So I do have the progressive things on there, but I don't like them. I straight up hate them. Cause I still feel like I can see better without them. It's like, here, let me get my glasses, and you'll see my ring light. So my glasses, yeah, I feel like right here it's like this big circle on my lens. So when I'm doing my crochet with my glasses, I'm usually doing this And so then I'm looking up here to see, and then if I need to see far away, like if I'm watching TV, I'm doing this. It's you know, the struggle is real, let me tell you, when you can't see. And when I read too, I always take off my glasses if I'm shopping in a store to like look at ingredients, because we do have a couple allergies in our family. So sometimes, you know, if I'm making food, if they're coming over, I have to make sure that that it's safe for me to buy or make or whatever. So, you know, the ingredients on food is like tiny. And so I'm like trying to look through the glasses and I'm like, forget it. And I just take them off so I can see it. It's, you know, it's a hassle. I miss the days where I do have contacts, but my eyes have gotten more sensitive wearing contacts. So if they're really feeling dry that day, then I don't wear my contacts. But the problem with wearing my contacts is I can't read a thing when I'm wearing my contacts. And if they did give me the contacts where you can read with them, but if my eyes are slightly like tired or dry, it just, the reading isn't going to happen with them. So then I need reading glasses when I'm wearing my contacts. Like, it's a hot mess. So when I'm crocheting, I prefer to not have my contacts in because it's just easier for me to see what I'm doing. And also contacts are expensive, so I'm most times I'm home, and so I don't need to wear my contacts. Like, I do feel more confident appearance-wise when I'm wearing my contacts, but you know, nobody cares what I look like, so my kids don't care. It doesn't matter. The dog doesn't care, so you don't care, I'm sure. And now I've lost my stitch marker with all of that, and I do not know where I am in this. So let me find my stitch marker. I guess I pulled it out with all of my, I tend to talk with my hands, as you've probably guessed already. Okay, we're back. I've got my stitch marker. I figured out my stitch count. I'm actually going to tie it so it doesn't pop out again. You know, it's not always pretty when you're designing. It's not glamorous at all. I think this stitch count is going to work. I also had to figure out the math because there is math involved when you're crocheting and knitting. So if you are a math person and you want to learn how to crochet or knit, you might be pretty successful at it, as far as, you know, figuring out, like if you wanted to design your own stuff, figuring out the math involved. That took me a long time to figure out with that. Now, as I've been designing for about probably at least 12 years, my math skills, as far as designing math skills, have gotten better. I can't say that I'm great at math by any means. I'm not. I mean, I'm not the worst. I guess I just call myself like average. You know, I'm definitely not super skilled at it, but I'm not like remedial where I, you know, needed to be in special class in school. I just, you know, I was just a regular math student. Very average, very, very, very average. One of my kids actually was an honors math student. Like, math just makes sense in her brain. But she doesn't like to crochet or knit. She tried knitting, and she doesn't have a lot of time. Like, she doesn't like things that are, I mean, I guess some people think this is tedious because, you know, you can't just like if you're cooking, she likes to cook and bake, so that's a little bit more of an instant gratification. I mean, obviously you have to mix the ingredients and all that stuff, but you know, you can make it, some things in 30 minutes, you know, where with knitting or crocheting, you know, it takes a little bit of time. Like this project that I'm making, once the pattern is done, it's not going to take very long to make if you're more of a skilled stitcher, but you know, it's not good. It's definitely takes longer than, you know, whipping up some spaghetti or something like that. But yeah, I also think too, she was always really good at school, and so things come really quickly to her, you know, so obviously this, again, takes a little bit of skill and practice, and so she would get frustrated, be like, you know, I might not getting this super fast, so. And also, I think either you love it or you don't, you know, and that's okay. None of my kids have been interested really in learning how to knit or crochet. Now that might change as they get older. You never know. I mean, my kids are, two of mine are, very young adults, and even I have a son, and who knows, maybe he'll want to pick it up, but you never know. There's more and more men that are knitting and crocheting, which I think is really great. So 10, 20 years from now, they might want to try it. You never know. Yeah, none of my kids. But yeah, I have had to. It has helped hone my math skills a little bit. I still can't always figure out things in my head. Like my daughter, she can just. Like I remember she was in. What class was it? It was like a pre-calculus or something like that, and she was annoyed because she was used to, up until then, just looking at a problem and figuring it out in her head without having to write it down or scratch. We used to call it in school scratch paper. Like young kids today are probably like, what the heck is that? But like when I had a math test, we would always have like a scrap piece of paper so that we could work out problems by hand, because I couldn't do things just in my head, and we were not allowed to use calculators. I know a lot of kids are these days, but she could just look at something and just do it in her head. And so when she started in the higher, more advanced math, she's actually started to have to write things down, and it was frustrating for her. I was like, welcome to the rest of us who can't figure out everything in our head. So yeah, a lot of times, if depending on what it is, if it's really working clothing items, especially for adults, I find that to be challenging with grading and sizing, and I'm getting better at it, but it's definitely more of a challenge, and I do have to have that scrap piece of paper to write down and help figure out the math, because there is nothing worse when you are working a pattern and there's a lot of errors. The math isn't mathing. So I try to not have that with my patterns, but we're human. We sometimes mistakes just get missed. I try to get things tested, not all, but especially if it's a pattern that's a little trickier, I do try to get tested. But sometimes even the testers, they miss stuff too. It just happens. So if you do work a pattern of mine, like a written pattern, you find an error, please let me know. I always appreciate that. Let me know nicely. Don't be like, this is the worst pattern, this is terrible, it's full of errors, whatever. Just say, hey, I noticed a typo, or I noticed this, because things do get missed. They just do. And so if I find that in one of my patterns, then I try to correct it, and then put out the corrected item, and then send the corrected item, the pattern, to the person. So I do try with the patterns to make them as error-free as possible. And also having the videos now, I think, helps with that, because sometimes trying to explain things with words doesn't always make sense, especially with crocheting. So when you actually physically see it, then it's like, oh, then everything starts to click. I mean, I do try to have pictures sometimes, but even a picture, it doesn't always translate as well as actually seeing somebody, physically make the item. So, but I'm going to keep going here with this. This was just, a catching up, a chatting, a crochet chat, I guess, crochet chat. I'm just going to keep trying with my channel. I'm still going to be doing the Tunisian Tuesday, which I think is fun. I love Tunisian crochet, so I'll either try to do a Tunisian project or Tunisian stitch pattern. And then I want to have things on Wednesday where I did have the Yarn Matters thing. But again, I think I'm going to cap it at 10 episodes. So maybe we'll just keep doing the crochet chat on Wednesday. And then Fridays, I try to have a pattern and maybe some shorts in between. I do want to try to put out more content for you and, see if I can make my channel grow. I really, hope that it does. But I hope that the rest of you have a great day. I hope it's not raining where you are. It is just miserable at my house right now. I'm trying not to have to go out, but I have to pick up my daughter from track practice, and hopefully she won't have to run in the rain. Sometimes they make them run in the rain. They're pretty hardcore that way. They're like, oh, it's raining, you can still run, even though. It's terrible. I've been to track meets during a thunderstorm. I actually pulled my kid from that one. It was really severe, and they weren't canceling the meet, and it was just raining in sheets, and there was lightning, and I was like, you know what? We're leaving now. It's not that important. And a lot of other parents did too, but then later the next day when he went to school, he said, hey Mom, do you know that meet that we left we thought would be canceled? And I said, yeah. He's like, it wasn't canceled. I'm like, that is just flat out dangerous, you know. Like, raining is one thing, it's inconvenient, it's terrible, it's miserable, but when it's lightning, you know, it's time to go. But that's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this random video, and I hope that, again, you're having a great day. And if you did like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!